I'm Sam Baker from The Pool. I'm really delighted to be here with Emma, who is looking pretty good for someone with jet lag, and Carys. Now, Carys Bray's career today is a bit of a literary fairy tale, as far as I'm concerned. Her first collection of short stories, Sweet Home, when it was unpublished, won the Scott Prize and was described as having shades of Angela Carter, which to me is like the ultimate accolade. Her first novel, A Song for Issy Bradley, was published in 2014 to widespread acclaim, was shortlisted for the Costa First Novel Award and the Desmond Elliott Prize for First Novels, and established her as an intelligent, empathetic writer with a deep understanding of familial relationships. Some might say she'd set the bar a bit too high for her second novel. The Museum of You was published a fortnight ago, and it's already garnering acclaim, described by The Observer last weekend as wise, moving, and tender. Emma Straub is also annoying. For me, this is the most annoying thing, that Emma manages to combine brainy and beachy. She too has had a short story collection published and two novels that have been critically acclaimed. Laura Lamont's Life in Pictures, which is a tale of the golden age of Hollywood, and The Vacationers, which hung out for quite a while in the New York Times bestseller list in September 2014. She's big in America and likely to be so here too once Modern Lovers is published tomorrow. These books don't actually have that much in common on the face of it, because your books are meant to be funny. Yeah. And Carys' books are mainly quite teary, actually. I mean, uplifting, but sad.
I don't know.
I think.
I do try and tell jokes sometimes.
Yeah, there are some jokes, but they're quite sad. Have you intentionally set your books in your hometown? They both are, aren't they?
Yeah, when I first started writing a bit, I felt like that wasn't allowed. I don't know why I felt like that. Nobody had said it wasn't allowed. It was just that I had this idea that you shouldn't write about small northern town. And then I did read some novels that were set in the north. Read some novels by Jane Ashworth and some others, because my mind's just gone blank. But yeah, and I realised it was fine. It was fine to write novels about the place where I'm from, and so and Issy Bradley in particular, because I had this idea of a scene on a beach, and we've got this really sort of creepy, strange beach in the town where I live. That just worked really well. And then when I started writing the next novel, I thought, where shall I set it? And I just was like, well, I'll just set it in the same place. Yeah. So I did. Yeah.
See, I actually think. Sorry.
No, go on. Go for it. Yeah. Actually, no, I would like that. That's
I actually
better.
think that you're. It's sort of lucky that you feel like your hometown is yours, and it's one of your jobs to sort of expose it to the world, and to not expose in a bad way, but just to sort of to tell people what you observe. Whereas my hometown, this little podunk New York City, is so over-described that it can be really hard to feel like it actually took me a long time to give myself permission to write about it also, because I felt like it was so oversaturated that I was like sort of trying to scurry around and find my
what to say.
my spot.
And there are a lot of Brooklyn novels, aren't there? In the past, you said you didn't want to set a novel in Brooklyn, so why did you change your mind this time?
Well, for a few reasons. I mean, the first reason was that it was because I figured out, I realized that if I set it in this particular neighborhood in Brooklyn called Ditmas Park, that isn't like the rest of Brooklyn, and it really isn't like the rest of New York City, that I could show, hopefully, that problems that people have in New York City are problems that one could have anywhere, and that there are parts of New York City that look like, any town, USA, with porches and driveways and things like that, which is not, I wanted to sort of, I felt like if I was going to add something to the noise, that I wanted it to be that I wanted it to be much quieter, and for it not to be about, sort of cute 20-somethings running around town. I wanted it to be about adults with lives and jobs and kids and schools and, you know, with things that lots of people could recognize.
I think grief is a theme, isn't it, in both of your books?
Yeah.
And the Times, rather dramatically actually, at the weekend called you a gifted pathologist of the bereaved.
That was
Which
a really
is-
creepy image.
Yeah, that's maybe not like the front cover, maybe the back cover.
Yeah. I was always rubbish at science as well, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't want me anywhere near pathology.
Maybe like an emotional pathologist.
Yeah, maybe.
I love the Mistress of Myself idea. It's so brilliant. How did that just come to you? I'm going to hate you even more. No. It was just like a great idea you had in the middle of the night.
Well, I knew that I wanted them. I knew that I wanted them to be a not very good band that had made this one really perfect song. And I thought, what would I do if I were like an English major who was in a band writing a song? Like that's what I would want to steal from somebody else. And so I was just like flipping through my Jane Austen novels. And I saw that line and I thought like, yeah. And it's so nice. I mean, because, you know, so much of writing is like just horrible, excruciating work where you just have to try, and then you go back and think, ugh, no, But yeah, sometimes things just appear and you see them. It helps if they're already written in somebody else's book and you just see it on the page. So it looks real, you know. But yeah, no, I knew when I saw that and I thought, oh yeah.
You're both short story writers. Do you find that easier or harder than novels?
At the moment, harder, because I feel like it's like running. Although I don't know why I say that, because I've never run anywhere in my life. But you know, like,
But if you did, it would
I
be
think
like
it's,
that.
Yeah, it would. It would be exactly like that. It's just like for me at least, I find it's like a different discipline, and I get completely out of condition, and then I had a short story commission which I was working on earlier this year, and I thought it would take me maybe 2 months or something, and it took me about 4 months to write one short story. It was a long short story, but still, I just was. The whole size of it just seemed like that. Oh, it was like this thing, and I couldn't quite get the right size of characters, and so I just wasn't. I was unfit. I hadn't done it for a while, and I think whatever I've most recently done, then I'm in that mindset, and then I can do it. So to start with, yeah, definitely short stories were the thing, and now I think maybe novels.
I totally agree that short stories are harder to write.
Yeah.
I think it's because you have to be so precise. Like if you think about, sort of levels of perfection necessary in writing, and you start with like poetry, where every single word is so important, and
Even
then you
the
sort
white
of,
space as
yeah,
well.
and then you sort of go down to like a short story where things are still really, 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 really important, especially the shape and the pace, and then you go down to the novel, and you're like, oh well, anything goes. Here, you've got oodles of space. You can take up all the digressions you want. You know.
You hear that sound just then? That was the editor in the audience. Going,
Yeah. No, but I think it's true that, you know, novels you have more sort of relaxed breathing room, which makes it easier, even though it's more words.
So your dad, Peter Straub,
Yeah.
wrote books that I wasn't allowed to read. Around the time I was reading other books I wasn't allowed to read, Stephen King, Shirley Corman, all that stuff. Did growing up in a writing house make you really want to be a writer or really not want to be a writer?
It made me really understand that writing was a completely possible, feasible career path. I think that's what it showed me more than anything else. Like when I went to graduate school, I had all these friends who really wanted to be writers but felt like they couldn't possibly, that it was like a fantasy job. But I knew that it wasn't a fantasy job. It was a job that lots and lots and lots of people I knew had. My dad, certainly, but also all of his friends. And so many people I grew up with. And so it always just seemed perfectly normal to me, and like fun. I mean, my dad also, like, I knew that it wasn't an easy job, but who wants an easy job, you know?
And did you always want to be a writer?
I did for quite a long time, yeah. And I did used to write. My mum and dad are here, actually. I grew up in a Mormon family, and Mormons keep journals. It's one of the Mormon prophets asked people to keep a journal, and so when I was 8 on my birthday, I got like an A4 folder with paper in, so that I could start keeping my own journal. And my mum used to like write hers every day, and so I think I sort of, I suppose I was sort of made into a writer in a way by that, writing about, you know, my life. If I got my journal from when I was 8 out of the loft the other day, and I was reading it, and it was just, yeah, it was really lovely actually. It made me think, oh, it'd be nice if I just made my children do that, and then they could look back on it and be like, oh. So yeah, but it didn't seem like a career type of thing until it was. Yeah.
Just the last question for each of you really is, what next? What are you working on?
I'm working on a novel that there's been a lot of children in the first 2 novels, and I was working on a like grown-up novel, I think, about a marriage that goes horribly wrong when one partner sort of becomes environmentally radicalized. And starts to think that, you know, the end of the world is nigh, but in a very secular sort of way, which I'm sort of going to have to rejig with the whole Brexit thing. I should like be writing about that as well, maybe. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on. I don't know whether it will follow through, but we'll see.
What about you, Emma?
I'm working on 2 things, again, sort of in theory. But so I keep writing about teenagers. There are always teenagers in my books.
Why is that?
Because I'm a stunted person, I think, and I can't quite let go of that time period. So I want to write just a full-on YA book, but I also want to write a book about, this sounds like a joke, cheese. I also want to write a book about cheese.
Yeah. Fiction, non-fiction,
Fiction,
memoir?
fiction, fiction, my life in cheese. A novel.
We actually ran that feature.
Yeah.
We have run that feature.
My
You
Life
need to
in
check it
Cheese.
out, My Life in Cheese.
Okay,
It's
promising.
cheesy.
Research. Yeah. A novel.
A novel
woman who
about
makes
cheese. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Emma and Carys,
Thank
for
you.
your evening. Thank you.